Good evening. This is World News. Tonight, the Gulf is turning into a live military chessboard. American fighters intercept Iranian drones. China expands its security umbrella over Tehran. Russian hardware appears in the Iranian sky. And Iran's proxy network warns Washington, strike Tehran, and the region burns. We begin at sea, where US forces have already engaged Iranian aircraft twice in a matter of hours. The confrontation has moved from the rhetoric to real-time interception. A second Iranian drone has been shot down near the USS Abraham Lincoln strike group in the Arabian Sea just hours after the first. Tracking data shows the aircraft, believed to be a Shahed surveillance strike drone, closing in on the carrier before being engaged by a US Marine F-35 stealth fighter. US Central Command called it self-defense. 2 shoot-downs, one day. The Gulf airspace is now a live trigger zone. Here's what happened.
A second flashpoint in the Arabian Sea. Reports now say the USS Abraham Lincoln carrier strike group has destroyed another Iranian drone just hours after the first shoot-down. Official confirmation is still awaited, but the message is already clear. The skies over the Gulf are turning into a battlefield. Tracking data suggests the drone, possibly a Shahed 129 or Shahed 136, was returning from a mission close to the Lincoln's last known position. The intercept reportedly involved a U.S. Marine F-35C stealth fighter, the same platform used in Tuesday's first takedown. 2 incidents in one day, an extraordinary escalation. This follows Tuesday's confirmed clash when a Shahed 139 flew toward the carrier with unclear intent. Central Command says the jet fired in self-defense to protect the ship and its crew. Iran admitted losing contact with the drone, but stopped short of blaming Washington. The timing could not be worse. Diplomats are trying to arrange nuclear talks in Oman this week. President Trump has warned that with U.S. warships moving in, bad things will happen if no deal is reached. Hours after the shootdown, another confrontation erupted in the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. says Revolutionary Guard boats harassed an American-flagged merchant vessel, a reminder that the shadow war at sea is expanding beyond drones. Yet diplomacy has not collapsed, at least not publicly. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has authorized his foreign minister to proceed with talks, but only if negotiations are fair and without threats. The White House insists dialogue will go ahead. Envoy Steve Witkoff is still expected to meet Iran's Abbas Araghchi later this week, even as warships, fighters, and missiles circle the region. 2 drones down, warships closing in, talks hanging by a thread. Whether this becomes a turning point for peace or the opening chapter of a wider war may be decided in the next 48 hours.
China has drawn a clear line, rejecting any joint US-Israeli strike on Iran. And support isn't just diplomatic. Joint naval drills with Russia and Iran are planned in the Gulf of Oman. Chinese cybersecurity teams are replacing Western systems with closed Chinese networks to shield Tehran from cyber warfare. And intelligence and missile defense assistance is reportedly expanding. Here's the bigger picture.
Is something big being planned in the Arabian Sea? A U.S. aircraft carrier, an Iranian drone shot down, and a Chinese research ship quietly watching from nearby waters. Coincidence or pieces of a much larger puzzle? The USS Abraham Lincoln, a massive Nimitz-class aircraft carrier, is currently operating about 500 miles from Iran's southern coast. Its mission? Deterrence. The timing? Critical. Tensions with Iran are rising over nuclear negotiations, regional power, and direct threats in the Middle East. But the carrier isn't alone. Since late December, a Chinese vessel, the Dayang Yihao, officially labeled an oceanographic research ship, has been operating in the same general area. China says it's conducting civilian research. Analysts say, not so fast. Western observers believe ships like this are dual-use, capable of collecting signals intelligence, monitoring radar, and tracking naval movements. Open-source data places it near the Abraham Lincoln strike group. Some describe it as shadowing the carrier. And then, things escalated. On February 3rd, U.S. forces detected an Iranian Shahed 139 drone approaching the Abraham Lincoln. The drone ignored warnings. Its intent was unclear, but its movement was described as aggressive. A U.S. Navy F-35C fighter jet took off and shot it down in international airspace. No damage, no casualties, but the message was unmistakable. So here's the question everyone's asking. Was this all connected? There's no official proof that China is assisting Iran militarily in this moment. U.S. officials haven't confirmed it, but the timing is interesting. A Chinese intelligence-capable ship nearby, an Iranian drone probing a U.S. carrier, and ongoing threats in the Strait of Hormuz just hours later. To some analysts, this looks like testing behavior, probing defenses, gathering data, watching responses, not an attack, but preparation. Others say this is standard great power posturing. China watches, Iran pushes boundaries, the U.S. responds. No secret alliance, just parallel pressure. But in a region where one miscalculation can spark a war, even observation can be dangerous. So is Iran planning something bigger? Is China just watching or quietly learning? Or is this simply the new normal in an increasingly crowded battlefield at sea? One thing is certain, the Arabian Sea is no longer calm water, and the next move may already be in motion.
Now, Iran's allied militias are issuing direct warnings to Washington. Hezbollah, Yemen's Houthi movement, and Iraq's Kataib Hezbollah say any strike on Tehran will ignite the region. Hezbollah's chief, Naim Qassem, calls it a red line. Iran's leadership promises an all-out response. So, this is no longer a bilateral standoff between Iran and United States. Here's the full report.
A new front is opening in the Middle East standoff. Anti-Houthi forces have warned Washington that Yemen's Houthis plan to attack American ships if the U.S. retaliates against Iran. The message is blunt. Any strike on Tehran could ignite the Red Sea and the Gulf in minutes. The threat comes at the most dangerous moment in years. On Tuesday, a U.S. F-35C jet shot down an Iranian drone approaching the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln. It was the second clash at sea in a single day, proof that confrontation is no longer theoretical. Hours later, Iranian forces tried to detain a U.S.-flagged tanker in the Strait of Hormuz. Washington called it harassment. Tehran called it routine. Either way, the region is one miscalculation away from open war. Despite the gunfire, diplomacy limps on. White House officials say envoy Steve Witkoff will still meet Iranian representatives this week, but President Trump warns that without a deal, bad things will happen. Iran insists talks must be free of threats. President Masoud Pezeshkian has authorized negotiations, but only on the nuclear file, not missiles or regional allies. Washington wants far more, limits on Iran's arsenal and its proxy network. Last summer, the United States bombed Iranian nuclear sites. Now, a carrier strike group is back in the Arabian Sea, armed with tomahawks and stealth fighters. To Iran's allies, from Hezbollah to the Houthis, that looks like preparation, not deterrence. The Houthis say any U.S. attack on Iran will be answered at sea. Iran says its forces are ready to strike American bases. The U.S. says it will defend its ships. Talks may begin Friday, but the guns are already loaded. Whether diplomacy outruns escalation will decide if the Middle East tips into a wider war.
New video appears to show a Mi-28NE Havoc attack helicopter flying over Tehran. The aircraft is Russian-made, built for close air combat and battlefield support. Images last week suggested deliveries had already begun. If confirmed, it signals more than hardware. It suggests Moscow is actively strengthening Iran's combat capability at a moment of peak tensions with the United States. Here are the details.
A secret channel opens between Tehran and Moscow. Iran's top security official Ali Larijani has reportedly delivered a confidential message from Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei directly to President Vladimir Putin. The meeting in Moscow comes at a critical moment as Tehran edges toward nuclear talks with Washington. What Iran told Russia could shape the next Middle East deal or the next confrontation. Sources say Iran signaled it may transfer enriched uranium to Russia, echoing the model of the 2015 nuclear agreement. Tehran is reportedly willing to suspend parts of its nuclear program if sanctions pressure eases and security guarantees follow. But Iran prefers a regional consortium for enrichment, not direct U.S. control. Upcoming talks in Istanbul are expected to run on two tracks, the nuclear file and Iran's missile program. Publicly, Tehran denies missiles are negotiable. Privately, diplomats say the issue could still reach the table. U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi are set to lead the engagement. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has now ordered preparations for direct negotiations with the United States. The condition, a non-threatening atmosphere. This marks a sharp turn after Supreme Leader Khamenei warned that any American attack would ignite a regional war. President Trump says he still hopes for a deal, despite moving warships near Iran. If we don't make a deal, we'll find out, Trump told reporters after Khamenei's warning. Washington wants strict nuclear limits. Tehran wants sanctions relief and respect. Foreign Minister Araghchi says Trump may be wise enough to choose diplomacy, but admits Iran no longer trusts the U.S. Regional mediators are trying to rebuild that confidence, yet both sides fear miscalculation. That is why the message to Putin matters. Moscow remains Iran's key security partner and potential guarantor. Putin could hold Iran's enriched stockpile, monitor compliance, and shield Tehran from total isolation. For Putin, this is leverage over both Washington and the Middle East. The secret note from Khamenei may be Iran's blueprint for survival and its insurance policy if talks with America collapse. A message delivered in secrecy, talks planned in Istanbul, warships waiting offshore. Iran is negotiating with Washington, but speaking just as carefully to Moscow. The next move from Putin could decide whether this story ends with signatures or sirens.
So, American carriers on alert, Iranian drones intercepted, China reinforcing, proxies mobilizing. This isn't posturing anymore. It's positioning for possibility. The region is balanced on deterrence. We will track every move. You're watching World News.